Peterborough who contracted COVID-19 while she was 35 weeks pregnant is sharing her incredible story about her recovery back to health. First-time mum Hajrah Aslam caught COVID in January of this year, which led to major complications with her pregnancy. Baby Hazafia was eventually delivered through a C-section before Hajrah was put into an induced coma to help relieve her lungs from the damage caused by the virus. Now, she credits Askham Rehab with her remarkable recovery. Now, they're a specialist neuro rehab community in Doddington who took her in and got her back on her feet. I'm so happy to say that Hajrah is with us now. Hajrah, good morning. I should probably say we're doing this on Zoom, aren't we? So I'm looking at you and I'm talking to you and my brain is discombobulated.
It's okay, good morning, how are you?
I'm very well. You look so well. I can see a little arm, a little baby's arm in the corner of the screen. How is the little one doing?
He's doing amazing. Yeah.
It's been
I just love being home with him.
I can well imagine. It's been quite the time. When did you first realise that you were really quite seriously ill?
I got COVID January the 15th. I tested positive on that day, but I got really bad on January the 18th, where I was struggling to breathe and I couldn't do, daily activities. So that's when I realised I was really, really bad and I had to go in hospital. That's when I, called the ambulance and they took me in.
Because at 35 weeks pregnant, I'm guessing at that point you were more nervous about maybe giving birth and having a new baby than COVID, and it was a real curveball, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was more worried about the baby at that time because obviously my breathing wasn't good. I was worried about the oxygen levels going to my baby, and that was the worrying part for me. But little did I know, everything just spiraled from there.
And I'm guessing actually back in January, it would have been way before vaccines as well. It's hard to imagine a time before the vaccines, but you would have had no protection.
No, I think they were newly out then. And I think everybody was on edge really about the vaccines. And they were just new things. So, yeah, there was no protection or anything. You just had to be careful, which I had been, wearing masks and sanitizing your hands. And, but it can still happen.
So you went into hospital with COVID. What kind of conversations were doctors having with you in that first admission about your pregnancy? Were they saying, let's see how it goes? Were they saying we need to get the baby out immediately? What kind of pressure was on you at that point?
So I went into hospital January the 18th, but it was in the evening time. So they just put the oxygen mask on me, and they saw my breathing was really heavy, and it was really they could see I was struggling. And the next day they said that the baby's pushing against your lungs, and we need to do a C-section to get him out. So I had a C-section on the 20th of January. Luckily, I was awake for the C-section, and I do remember, having my baby and seeing my baby, but it was only for a few seconds, and then they took him to the NICU because obviously he was premature baby. And then after that, I went into intensive care to monitor my breathing and just to monitor my health.
And then you were put into a coma, weren't you? An induced coma to help your body kind of recover.
Yeah, that's right. So I had my baby around 10:30 in the morning, and then around midnight, my oxygen levels dropped to 5%, and then the decision was made that I had to go into an induced coma in order to get my lungs to rest, I didn't want to go into the ventilator. I didn't want to go into the coma. As you can imagine, I just had a baby, and it was just all really scary for me. Just having a baby is such a big thing, and I was just so scared. So I rang my parents, I rang my siblings, I rang my husband. I just said, just pray for me and look after my baby. I don't know if I'm going to make it. So it was a really difficult conversation. And then after that, I don't remember a thing. I just remember waking up, which was 6 weeks later.
6 weeks. So, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because if you want to be angry and cynical at the world, you can say That's 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks of your baby's. Sorry, I'm giggling because it was just a little snort from him then, perfectly timed. That, you know, you could be sort of resentful maybe that that's the first 6 weeks of his life that you weren't there for, but also potentially I can imagine you're so grateful that that intervention meant that you're here today.
Yeah, I mean, I have missed out a lot because, you know, as a first time mum, as you can imagine, I did plan everything. I bought all his clothes, I bought his, you know, pram, and I just planned in my head, once I've had him, I'm going to take him to the park, we're going to do this. But yeah, it just didn't work out for me. But then again, I'm just so grateful that I'm here now because, you know, during that time, my family were given scares that I'm not going to make it. You know, just prepare yourselves. And so they went through such a bad time as well, you know. But I'm so grateful that I'm holding my little man now.
And I've got to say, he doesn't look so little from what I can see. He looks like he's quite a little fighter.
Yeah, he was £6 when he was born. So
Wow.
at say 5 weeks, I think that was pretty good going.
Yeah. And he's
Actually,
what,
I went
8?
to for
He's what, 8 months now?
7 months.
7 months. So my maths, even in these small numbers, my maths isn't great. I want to ask you, Hajrah, how your husband is, because it's been so difficult for dads during this time because they've not been able to be in the hospital with the, or at least not until the last minute for the birth, and then booted out again for understandable reasons. And then he had all this to deal with as well. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing fine. He's just grateful that I'm home. But obviously during that time, when no one was allowed in, my husband wasn't allowed in, you know, because all my family got coronavirus except my sister and my two brothers. So I did say to the hospital, can I have my sister there, just to be with me if you know no one else is allowed there. But they were saying no. So I did go through everything on my own. So my husband was really worried for me, and you know he didn't know what was happening because it all just spiraled. So it was a difficult time for him and my parents and my sibling. It was just awful.
So after 6 weeks, you did come round and
Yeah.
you got to meet your baby properly for the first time. How was that?
Yeah, so after 6 weeks, I came round. I was kind of still delirious, but I looked at the board and I could see March and I was confused. I was like, I swear I had my baby in January. So I was really, really confused. And then I was really emotional for 2 weeks and my temperature wasn't going down. So at that point, they weren't letting anyone in, even my baby or my mum or no one. They were letting in, not even my husband, no one. So because I was really emotional, my temperature wasn't going down, they made this decision that the baby can come and see me. So that was 2 weeks after I woke up. And I can't describe it. It was just, I was confused at the same time because he was, I gave birth to a tiny baby, and then he was all of a sudden he was 2 months old, and he was like kind of big to me. But oh my God, I can't describe it. It was just an amazing feeling that I'm finally meeting my baby. It was just the best feeling ever.
Oh, it's so emotional, isn't it? And then you went to Askham, didn't you? Askham Rehab. I guess to sort of build up your strength again.
Yeah, I needed to go to such an amazing place like Askham. You know, when I went to Askham, I was bedbound. I couldn't do anything myself. I couldn't get up. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even comb my hair, just unscrew a bottle. And I went into Askham, and honestly, they've given me my life back. They've they were just amazing people. I can't, I can't even fault them. They were just amazing. Yeah.
Well, I suspect you're going to know Luke Cook, who is the head of rehab and nursing at Askham in Doddington. Luke, it must be lovely for you to see now just how well your star patient's done. Hajrah's looking great. Not that I'm a medical professional, but she certainly looks great.
It is wonderful, and these stories always need to be shared because it's wonderful for everyone that's gone through something similar or going through something similar. But I do need to question Hajrah, because it's not what Askham done, it's what you done. Like, we gave you the tools, we gave you the opportunity, but that drive, that determination was all from you. We could see for me, from the referral, for someone that has gone through the story that you've just stated, like the hospital admission, the ITU, the being, hospital-induced coma, to then be a mother, and then just that drive, then come to Askham and to say, we gave you the tools, but you was the one that worked. It wasn't always easy, because it never was. There was a few down days, I suppose, but that's natural. But your down days were not the same as anybody else's. You was constantly positive, and everything that you shared is long lasting for our residents that are here, that were with you, all of our staff, and then hopefully everyone that your story reaches. You've done amazing.
Thank you, Luke.
Hajrah, was your baby allowed in the rehab with you, or were you?
Yes, my baby.
Yeah. So that must have been a great help.
Yeah, I mean, my baby did come and visit me. I'm so grateful that he was allowed to visit me, because I was just missing him so much.
Of course. So, Luke, tell us about the kind of support that you would have offered Hajrah and patients like Hajrah. I have visions of sort of slowly, good food, vitamins, walking on a treadmill, generally helping her put her body back together. Is there emotional support as well? Because she's been through a bona fide trauma.
She certainly has. So here we're able to offer all of the disciplines of therapy. So we have physiotherapists, occupational therapists, speech and language therapists, neuropsychologists, and then it's all overseen by a rehab consultant, so Dr. Judith Allinson and Dr. Fahim Anwar. But then also we have everything that's nurse-led. So all of the rehab units are led by nurses with very dedicated care teams that work with them. And then again, it's all supported by just full support services. So our hospitality, our domestics, our facility services, but everyone will work together, because rehabs, yes, repetition, but there's a lot more to it than that. The conversations Hajrah would have had with the person that came into a room to, say, change a bedding, or the person that came into a room to change a light bulb, would have all been meaningful, and everyone here remembers Hajrah. And what we wanted to offer, but because of rehab progressed so fast, as you spoke about, and baby coming to visit, the plan we had was for Hajrah to go into one of our adaptive flats, to have the full family in one of our flats as part of that final phase of rehab. But because Hajrah's trajectory just surpassed it, and in 11 weeks she was good to go, it missed that element out, which was wonderful, but we was very much looking forward to having a baby on site.
So you're like, hang on, I'm just going to delay those exit papers, Hajrah. We want a few cuddles before we let you go.
That is something Hajrah certainly wouldn't allow us to do, so there'd be no delay with this lady. This lady was very, very focused. But no, what we offered was, we offered everything that she needed. So we went through the hands-on therapy from the physios, which was, you enjoyed the robotics and using the Amigo Plus, which is a robotic-assisted device with the lower limbs, which can change the height in which a person sits to actually isolate certain muscles and actually measure both sides to make sure that we're not overcompensating on one side and actually having it symmetrical. So there was symmetry with that. We offered, you would have been seen by the speech and language therapist when you first admitted, but that was limited need. And with the psychological input would all.
Sorry, I was going to say, Luke, I'm just conscious of the time. That's all I could talk to you for hours. So much there support at Askham for you, Hajrah. How are you now?
Yeah, I'm doing good now. I mean, mentally, I'm doing good. I mean, I do have my days where I think about, what I went through, and then I do have my emotional days where I break down. But overall, I'm doing well. I can walk with a stick with the help of somebody else. I still get pain in my leg because I got nerve damage from the coma, and then I got the back sores, pressure sore from the coma as well. So I've still got a bit of a long way to go, but I'm just so grateful that I've achieved so much, and Askham has helped me immensely.
Well, everyone here sends their best wishes. Hajrah Aslam there, Peterborough mum, looking so well this morning, I'm delighted to say, and Luke Cook, head of rehab and nursing at Askham. Thank you both so much for being with us this morning. It's been such a joy to hear your story. We wish you both well.